Welcome to the Indie Author Showcase. I'm your host, Chad Robert Morgan, multi-award-winning author of The Baby Eater.
Shockingly, still not sure how that happened.
To my right is my rock of moral support, Alexander.
Always a pleasure to be in your vicinity.
Mm-hmm.
Always gotta say that.
Yeah, I can see the sarcasm dripping from the lights.
Is that something people say? Do they say it's dripping from the lights?
Well, you're dripping from sarcasm, so I can see it dripping from the lights.
I don't think anyone says it's dripping from the light. Anyways, against the point. What would today's first topic of discussion be about, however?
Well, so this is our second episode.
Yes.
So, quick reminder of what this podcast is for. So, this podcast is to showcase not only our own work, but other indie authors as well. We go to a lot of these conventions, things like WonderCon, Monsterpalooza. We're seeing indie authors like myself trying to get their name out there and trying to build an audience. So the purpose of this podcast is to help all of us in that task. So it is of the philosophy that a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So we will get more done through cooperation than through competition. So with that said, let's talk about our indie author for this week. Okay. So this week we are dealing with Aether Bound by Megan Haskell. You want to do the honors of reading the back of the book?
Am I gonna do this like all the time?
Sure, why not? It allows you to feel like you're contributing to the show. 16-year-olds.
I get paid to be here. Just throwing that out there. Aether Bound. Lil can see the demon on your shoulder. Good or bad, virtue or vice. She knows just what you desire. Too bad everyone thinks she's crazy. Everyone, that is, except her brother, Ezra. After years spent hiding her abilities, Lil's finally found a place where she belongs. Slinging fruity, rum-filled drinks behind the counter of a touristy beach bar in Southern California. But when her little brother goes missing during a freak ocean storm, Lil knows something is terribly wrong. With demons rising from the waves, Lil can no longer deny her power. Given the key to unlock her nascent magic, Lil must journey to Agios Hall in the depths of the unseen realm of the gods to rescue Ezra. But the primordial god of the ocean has set its sights on a greater prize, the untamed daughter of Lilith.
So we met Megan. Well, we didn't meet. You weren't with me on that one. No, I was with your mother at WonderCon last year, which we are going to be having our own table this year at WonderCon. By the time this podcast is out, WonderCon will probably have come and gone. But met her there. She got to see our work at your high school, actually. So I signed up for her newsletter, and she was saying, well, I'm going to do this boutique at El Toro High School. And I'm like, dude, that's across the street. That's my son's school. Why did I not hear anything about this? So I signed up for that, and we got the chance to talk, and she came over. It's like, oh, so this is your stuff? Yeah, not my thing. And I was like, no. So that kind of took the mickey out of me. But that's all right. Not every book is going to fit everybody's genre. For example, I'm not a fan of romance novels, for example.
Ah, shame. Love romance.
So.
Love slow burn type of guy.
You know, point being is that I'm writing,
I'm bored of 50 Shades of Grey after a while.
So you're not reading 50 Shades of Grey.
I'm not, don't worry.
Yeah, I do worry with you, so I do worry a lot.
Yeah, I'm not reading because I got bored.
A lot.
I got bored. Trust me.
And now you know why I'm gray. So.
Because you're old?
Because of you. You say things like that, it's just, the color just goes right out of my. So, anywho, getting back to the book that we were supposed to be talking about.
Yes.
So, you didn't like this one?
No, not particularly. Hear me out, okay? At first, I thought it had like a nice little thing going, right? Because like, ooh, she has magical ability, all that good stuff, and it had this like nice worldly vibe because she goes to this ball. She's like doing like normal ball stuff, right? But it had like like ties to reality, like with all the magic, right? Like last time we talked about how it was like creep show esque because it feels like this fantasy stuff, but it's also still like in the world. Like this could like actually happen. You wouldn't know, right? And then we get to the point where we go to another world where it's like, oh yes, and then the fish prince Nazibadadu said, "Oh yes, marry me, please." And I'm like, okay, I think we jumped from the thing I liked to straight up just like fantasy novel in a fantasy world, and that's why I was like, okay.
So you didn't like when it actually transitioned to the undersea hall, which is because I mean it's basically like Poseidon, right?
Yeah.
And that's his domain there underneath the sea. I didn't have that problem with that transition. I actually enjoyed the book. It kind of had a Buffy meets Percy Jackson kind of vibe to it, right? Because it did have that kind of like ancient mythology god actually being in our world, just kind of buried vibe that you do see with like the Percy Jackson. But what you're talking about, how she could see demons and everything like that, and her special abilities kind of gave me a very Buffy Summers Chosen One kind of vibe. So if you like Buffy and you like Percy Jackson, this is, I think, a good mashup of the two. Personally, I kind of dug it.
Yeah, maybe that's just not my thing, Maybe.
Oh, I mean, and again, that's fine because she came up, like I said, she came up to my booth, looked at my books, and went, "Not my thing." So that's fine. If it's not your thing, my thing isn't her thing. That's fair. Doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just means it's not your thing.
I have so many jokes about that. I'm gonna be honest. I have so many jokes. I'll be like, yeah, no way. Your book's not my thing either.
Says the person who now I have to pay for all the freaking therapy for after having made you read them.
Hey, don't worry. It happens. It happens. That's why I want my thing,
I use him as a guide to whether or not it's appropriate for teenagers, because if I have him read it and he really, really regrets that I made him read it, I know other 16-year-olds shouldn't be reading it.
Yeah. Just like 50 Shades of Grey.
I know for a fact there is not a copy of 50 Shades of Grey anywhere in this damn house.
Hey! Don't check on a reading at 2:35 a.m.
If that's what you're doing on the internet at 2:35 a.m.,
whoa,
there's something wrong
on
with you.
On the internet? You assume I read ebooks? No. I have a physical copy.
I know that's not true, because I know what every single book in your room is, and ain't the one of them.
Oh, actually, sidecheck that, actually. I didn't just have a physical copy. Why do you think I have my headphones on all the time? It's so stupid.
Yeah, you've gone off the rail some time ago. So anyhow, split decision. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
All right. So, second episode, first split decision on Aether Bound by Megan Haskell.
Wow. We really disagreed with each other on the second episode. Wow.
What, a father and son disagreeing? That is earth-shattering news.
I know,
right there.
never happened before. Never once has there been a dispute amongst the two.
Also the news, water is wet.
Anyways, after we have gone with that book, a little book review, what else should we talk about that's on the plate? Unless you want to go with my idea.
We can go with your idea. That's fine.
Okay. So, the camera on me. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here's what I was thinking, right? You recently wrote a book, right?
I do that as an author from time to time.
Why are you like this? Why are you like this, dude?
Me.
Yeah. You're not that funny. You're not funny.
No, I'm not. Funny.
Neither am I, but like, okay,
No.
okay. That's the point. This
It's
book.
a good thing we're not funny, because then we might do something stupid like do a podcast.
That's the point. Okay, the. Hey,
Okay,
stop laughing.
I'm not.
You're laughing.
Nope.
You're laughing at me.
I would never do
My
that.
ideas.
I would never do that.
He's laughing at me. My ideas.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, are you gonna actually run this podcast?
Oh
now?
yeah, forgot. Oopsie daisy. So, my idea, right, was you wrote the latest book, The Last Right Short Bites. Okay? And this book was a little horror anthology for young adults. Where it's like, oh, we have 3 short horror stories, small thing in between, right? And we were asking, what was it like? What did you learn from reading other horror novels of that same type? Stuff like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Am I allowed to speak now?
I'm considering it.
Yeah. For the record, it was The Last Right Short Bites, Volume 1, Bloodlines.
Semantics, but okay.
Yes. Well, you gotta squeeze the entire title into the thing.
I guess it's semantics, but okay.
It is kind of a long title.
Yeah, semantics. But first off, what did you learn from reading other horror novels at the same time?
Well, I actually was reading up on, I think it was the Tales from the Pizzaplex series, because I wanted to kind of get a gauge of what was appropriate for quote-unquote young adult.
Yep, it does not help that small problem. If you want to ever read those books, they are not that good. Don't worry, you aren't missing out on much.
I thought the short stories in that was hit and miss. I thought some of them were interesting, and some of them seemed to go nowhere. But that's just me.
Straight off the rails, yeah.
Yeah. So lesson 1 would be every short story should actually be a good short story. You know.
And the next one you were talking to me about, so I already know this one. You can get away with a lot more than you think you can.
Yeah, so, again, the Fazbear Frights, I believe, is published by Scholastic.
Yes.
Can we fact check that, anybody? Fact check?
I'll have it in post, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there was like one episode I was reading where they basically suggested that the married couple were getting busy.
Like in 50 Shades of Grey?
Well, the difference is that they can't actually say, and we're going to have sex now. You know.
They cannot say, we are about to go and perform with the sex.
Let alone actually describe the sex. That's not
like 50 Shades of Grey. Okay.
But it was kind of like, kind of like the joke on the second Aladdin movie where the genie's like, oh, I thought the earth moved during the honeymoon. That kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just the kind of innuendos that for a kid might go zoop, and an adult's like, they're going to Bound Town. That kind of thing.
Why do you say it like that, you creep?
Huh?
Why do you say it like that, you creep?
That sound like a creep because I thought it was funny. Anyway, so again, you couldn't have explicit sex. You couldn't talk about sex, but you could definitely imply that sex was happening.
Yeah.
That actually kind of became a challenge when I started the first short story because I realized that I sort of wrote myself into a corner on that one.
Okay, specify.
Well, so the reason I started the young adult book was because kids saw the monster, this one here, this gal, on the cover of the book, and wanted to read it, and I had to tell them no, because the prologue is very explicit, right? It's about a guy who's in the Philippines, and he's basically on a sex tourist trip.
Oh.
Okay.
Wholesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's totally rated R. So he's spending the week just going through as many barely legal girls as he could when he meets one gal too many, and it goes very, very bad for him.
Rest in peace.
So obviously I don't want kids reading that. That is not for an 8-year-old to read. And I really hated telling kids, no, you cannot read my book. First of all, it just feels wrong to tell a kid that they can't read a book. Secondly, it feels wrong to my wallet to tell a potential customer. We actually had that one time at remember the LA Festival of Books?
Oh, that was an experience.
Where this We'll talk about the festival in a minute, but it had a gal that came up. She must have been about maybe 10 years old and wanted Intergalactic Space Force.
A little bit of context. That book is very raunchy, made by him. Imagine Star Trek was written by the guys behind South Park. Sex jokes in space, and more sex jokes.
Especially the first one. First one was really heavy on sex jokes. Second one, I took a slightly different path and
religion.
Started making fun of religion instead of sex.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's like the first chapter of ISF, and there's accidental exhibitionism. You know.
Yeah, which is inexperience. Anyways, continue.
The point being, this girl really wanted the book, and I'm like looking at the mother, and I says, you need to explain to her that this is a very mature book, and I need her okay, because I didn't want to sell it to a kid without the parents' permission. Now, I mean, again, I'm liberal, right? I let you watch South Park. I let you read the books. I'm fine with it.
Yep.
It's
the first time we read for this shit today.
But I think that's a parental choice, right? That's a parenting choice, and I didn't want to undercut that. And the mom didn't speak English.
Yikes.
But I kind of looked her in the eye, and we kind of had that like parent communication through the eyes kind of thing, where it's like you got to tell her, and the mother's like looking at her, looking at me, and I'm like, and she's like, yeah, put it down, you know, that kind of thing. So that was the vibe I was getting a lot of time with the Baby Eater. They would see that monster, they would want to buy. Miami was even worse, because I went to the Miami book festival, and I didn't know that like during the day on Friday they were going to bus elementary school kids in, right? And one kid that wanted like ISF, and I'm like, I mean, this was like middle school, right? Not elementary school, but middle school, like 8th, 9th graders. And I'm like, he's like, I want to buy this one. I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of mature. And he just looks at me and says, dude, I've seen things. So the first short story, as I was trying to say earlier, I kind of wrote myself in the corner, because the main character, right, is from the end of The Baby Eater, and as the name implies, she eats herself some babies, right?
Yep.
So the character in the short story is basically a reluctant monster, doesn't want to be a monster, and is trying to use her powers productively. So she is basically, yeah, she's like, if I'm forced to eat babies, then at least I'm going to eat babies from difficult pregnancies, thereby saving the mother. In other words, she basically becomes an abortion doctor. So now here I am in this young adult book, having to describe this monster without using the abortion word.
Yikes.
The very first thing we meet is the child that gets kidnapped. And the reason he's kidnapped is his brother was an aborted child and turned into a monster because of that.
Huh.
Which is like the bulk of Filipino legends for some reason. The Tikbalang, the Tiyanak. It's like there's so much, you know, the Mananagal eats the babies. If you killed the baby before it's baptized, it comes back as a zombie baby. There's a lot of like
babies.
A lot of things around infant mortality in Filipino mythology.
Don't be a baby then.
Yeah, it's a very bad time to be a baby. point being is that I this is a great idea for a book where I got the two monsters fighting, and I'm already written myself into a corner.
Yep.
So I had to really tiptoe around the whole abortion thing. I was definitely talking about how, like most abortions are not like what they say in the news, like, oh, I don't want to be pregnant anymore, just take it. Now, a lot of it is because the woman's health deteriorates, that the pregnancy goes south on you, right? These are usually women that want to be parents, they want to be a mother. And then when you have, like in the Philippines, where you have strict no abortion laws, women's lives are in danger. And so I had to kind of very delicately work that because, again, this is like 13 to 18-year-old age group here that I'm writing to. This is not adult. So then there's the fact that the mother is basically, how do I phrase in the book, entertaining a foreigner.
Did you really? Okay.
Well, I did not say any naughty words. I did not say how she was in. They could have been having tea and cookies.
Wow.
You don't know. Doesn't really say.
Now, sex off the table. But what is on the table? Gratuitous amounts of violence. Shockingly enough.
Don't hit the table.
Okay, well, I hitting the table. But yeah, you are allowed to have gratuitous amounts of violence.
Yeah, we're in the Fazbear Frights thing. There was actually a story about a kid who wants to be an animatronic and starts, when he becomes an adult, goes to black market surgeons to get his limbs chopped off and replaced with prosthetics as he's turning himself bit by bit into a robot. And then at the end of the book, where he is so unhappy, he basically commits suicide.
Yay!
This is allowed.
Yep. Scholastic Inc. Similar story. To just really put in the point that you are allowed to include gratuitous amounts of violence. Another story. This one involves children being murdered. I know, that's a common theme in those FNAF, ARG horror things. I would know. I love analog horror. There's a lot of dead kids for some reason. Anyways, yeah, there's a lot of them. Basically, summarize, children's making, like, exo spring trap, the suit thing. He goes inside, clamp, dead kid. Wow.
Well, I remember the one about Haps, right, where the two kids somehow get into the unsecured, unopened section of the tube maze, yeah. Right? And one of the cleaning droids, like, kind of goes nuts and goes after them, gets damaged or something, goes crazy. And it talks about how the kid's buddy was basically decapitated and eviscerated by the thing. It's fine if it's off screen. Then it's okay.
Yeah.
He heard the screams and the blood splattering and everything, but you don't get to see it.
And that is a child.
Yeah, I mean, the kid was like,
What do you mean by that?
I mean, he was about your age.
Wow.
Yeah, he was about maybe 15.
So, when it comes to violence, sometimes it can be on screen if it's light. If it's a major amounts, go wild. Just make sure it's off screen, okay? Just make sure you don't hear about it explicitly.
It kind of reminded me of that thing from South Park where they're going to war with Canada, saying, "Are we can have all this sex and violence as long as our kids don't say naughty words."
Yeah, exactly. So, violence on the table. Go wild with violence and gore and
Well, you couldn't go that wild because, again, you could have some pretty violent things happen to these people, but it couldn't be quote unquote on camera, right? Yeah. It had to happen. But I mean, there was some. I mean, there were some limbs being chopped off. There were some. Yeah, there was some gore in them books, So again, just looking for the level, right? Like, how far can we go? So that's sort of the selling point for Short Bites. It's That's sort of the selling point for short bites. It's all the scares, half the gore, none of the adult situations.
I love not having adult situations. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about young adult books?
No.
Because you're still technically in the young adult category.
I think I'm good when it comes to talking about young adult books. Now we all getting about that 30-minute mark. We're about 4-5 minutes. This is just, I just thought we'd have this short little section every once in a while if we had a little bit of extra time. We talk about some of our experiences at some of these conventions.
That's a good topic, yeah.
Okay, the first one I would like to bring up to, we brought it up earlier. The LA,
The LA Festival of Books.
Oh boy, did we have fun.
That was horrible.
Wow.
That was absolutely... Now, for the record, the people running the event were fantastic. Right?
Yeah.
This is not a comment on the people running the festival. This is more of a comment of the people attending the festival.
Oh my god, were some of these people terrible. If you went to that and you weren't the worst, I applaud you. You are the best. If you were one of the 4 people who looked me dead in the eyes and I said, want to read a good book, said, I don't like books,
at a book
the
festival.
LA Convention of Books, I hate you.
Well, it could have been worse. There was also that like long conversation we had with the transient guy that was talking about the haunted homeless shelter or something like that. The one that was convinced that it was some sort of government conspiracy. Did you remember that guy? Did you talk to that guy?
Yep.
And that guy went on for a while before we even got started.
Yep.
I did thought it was funny that there would be people lined up around the block to get Stacey Abrams' book, but we couldn't get like 2 people to look at our stuff. Right now, It probably did not help that our booth was sandwiched between one group that was giving their books away,
Yeah.
and what do you call them? I am brain farting right now. The Jehovah's Witnesses. Yes.
Yes.
We had technically the guy next to us was some dentist guy that never showed, but next to him we had the Jehovah's Witnesses, and the guys right next to us, again, nice guys, but they were giving away their books about like how UFO conspiracies were real and find God or something. And I mean, it was just, first of all, totally different genres. Second of all, it's kind of hard to compete when the guys next to you are giving you. We actually had a similar situation at Son of Monster Palooza. So we had these little stickers made up, right, that we would give away for free. And we had a small press table, right? It was just a table next to a guy whose business was selling stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were like taking the stickers and we're just sort of pushing them off our table and putting them away.
The sticker guy, really cool.
Oh, nice. Well, that's why we took our stickers off the thing. Because we were, now his stickers were cool. They were like cartoon characters of like Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers. Basically if there's a horror themed monster, he did like a cartoonish caricature of that person. Noon Tunes, was it?
I think so.
Or no, Necronomatoons?
Yeah.
I think that's about right.
Shout out to that guy for real.
Great guy. But yeah, it just felt weird that we're giving away stickers when the guy's whole business is selling stickers. And so we're like, we just put our stickers away, that kind of thing. So kind of the same thing with the LA Book Festival. It's kind of hard to sell a book when the guys next to you are giving their crap away for free. Yep. That's not how that works.
It also did not help that everyone there did not appeal to like horror that much.
Well, you know what got me was last year's Comic-Con, where we had a lot of guys in Star Trek outfits, and I'm like, hey, you like Star Trek? I said, oh, well, yeah. You like Lower Decks? And I'm sitting here with like ISF going, yeah, you like Lower Decks? And they're like, I hear it's really raunchy. I was like, oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, this one's not for you then.
And I think one that we could say for later is Ted Cruz guy. We'll save that for later.
Which one's the Ted Cruz guy?
Ted Cruz guy is at our first Comic-Con. when we had the
Was this the one that was talking about
Mission Impossible.
That's yeah.
You'll save that guy for later.
Oh no! You brought him up. We got to talk about it.
Okay.
So, our first Comic-Con, we had
The first event we ever did.
That's like what got us started in this.
Yeah.
So our day job, not our day job, you don't have a job. My day job at White Moon Dreams, my boss had a booth at Comic-Con, and he wasn't going to use it that year, and they were afraid that if they didn't use it, they would lose it, and then they would never get it back. So they're like, okay, we got to find someone to fill it. Maybe we can sublease it out or something like that. And they say, Chad, do you want to take the booth for like a day? I'll take it for the week. Come on, I'll Comic-Con. Come on, I'll take it. So, and then I over-prepared and everything like that. But one of the things that I did was I borrowed this device from work called an SRD. Stands for Spatial Reality Display. Now, this is something that Sony is developing. What it does is it creates 3D images without the need for glasses. The camera focuses on the eye and it shifts the two different frames, and it aims the two images as you move around. It's kind of like what the 3DS did back in the day, except the 3DS, you had to aim it at your face manually. This one does the aiming automatically. And it's really kind of trippy because you weave back and forth like this, and the images are shifting to maintain that 3D illusion while you're moving. So we had this, and we had a program that allowed us to display the monsters we had built for the books. And people can look at it and, oh, that's kind of cool. And they can see the monster going around and everything like that. And this guy goes, you know what? This reminds me of this thing from Mission Impossible. And then I don't want to be rude because he might be a potential customer. He comes back and says, oh, I got this thing I was going to show you. Shows me this like 5-10 minute clip of Tom Cruise and what's his name from Shaun of the Dead? I forget his name off the top of my head. But they have the screen, and the screen is basically projecting that part of space, and they're moving the screen, and the projector is compensating, so it's creating the illusion that the hallway is empty and everything like that. And he shows me the entire clip of this thing, and I'm like, where are we going with this? But somehow this SRD screen reminded him of this. So finally, after this clip is done, and he's like, okay, yeah. And I'm like, okay, great. That's what that reminds you. Yeah.
And then he continues to talk to you about Mission Impossible for half an hour.
He could browse up another clip of him climbing up the walls and everything. I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything?
Oh my god, I think it was driving me insane. The fact that he was standing in front of our entire booth, taking up the entire thing for half an hour. Do you know how much money I could have made in that half an hour?
And I mean, I don't want to be rude because this is a potential customer, and, plus being rude is just being a dick. But I'm like, dude, I am trying to make money here. I am trying to build up an audience and a following. I don't have time to watch all 5 Mission Impossible movies or however many they are. The dude was a hardcore Cruise fan.
Tom Cruise is pretty cool.
I know, but Jesus goddamn Christ on a popsicle stick. Maybe.
And with Tom Cruise guy covered, it is about time. It is about 30 minutes. Which are a lot of time.
Can we?
Speaking of 30 minutes, that's the amount of time that Tom Cruise guy was talking.
Time. Before we go to, if we're going to talk about the bad experiences, let's end it by talking about some of the good experiences real quick. Some of the reasons why we actually do these things.
Right.
One of the nicest things. So let's go back to that first Comic-Con for a minute. It did get to the point where I could never leave the booth.
Yeah.
Right? Because every time I left the booth, because it was you, me, Ben, and your Uncle Padre running the booth. And every time I would leave the booth, Padre would go, dude, you just lost 3 sales because you weren't here to autograph things. I'm like, man, I took a piss for fuck's sake. And they're like, there's a lady over there that just bought one of your books. You got to go sign it for her. And I'm like, okay, great. And I went to go, and I'm down the hall, walking through the tables, realizing I have no clue who I'm looking for at this point.
We only gave you the advice of Asian lady.
No, it wasn't even Asian lady. Just
I told you
older woman.
I told you Asian
You were with
lady.
me in the bathroom. You missed it too.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the last time. Okay.
No. So, move your mic. Your face is in the way. So, finally, Ben comes out and he takes me to her. Thank God, because I would not have known who the hell I was looking for. And she's there. She's a volunteer. She's helping with the artist tables. And I'm like, I heard I owe you an autograph. So, oh, yes, thank you. And she showed me the book, and I signed it for you. Hope you enjoy it, and everything like that. And then I go back to my booth, right? Nice lady, nice conversation. Last day of Comic-Con. Last hour of the last day of Comic-Con. She comes back up to the booth, and she says, I've already started reading your book. I'm about maybe 6 or 7 chapters into it. I'm really enjoying it. I want the other 3. Or the other 2. I think I had 3 at that point for Comic-Con. I had 3 books. So she bought all 3 of my books based on how much she liked the small part that she had read in the first one. And she wanted to get the rest of it before I left. And that's one of the big ones for me. The last time that happened was Son of Monsterpalooza. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So these 2 characters come in. I say that because they were cosplaying, right? They were Art the Clown, and I don't know what they call female Art the Clown from Terrifier 2, right?
Yep.
I don't know what her name is. I know the character, but I don't know the name. But the other guy's Art the Clown, and they're in character, so they're miming everything. And they're not talking and everything like that. And he's pointing to our glow-in-the-dark 3D printed Mana Nagal, right? And so I started, trying to do my sales pitch. Would you like to? He's like, and again, he's miming and everything. And I said, if you like it, you should read the book. And he breaks character and he goes, yeah, actually, I bought it yesterday. Oh, really? How do you liking it? I'm only like a couple chapters in, but I'm really enjoying this. And it's like, you're really into your craft. I really get that. And your mastery of your craft. And I'm really enjoying it so far and everything like that. And, that to me really is when you see somebody that, has read it, is enjoying it. At last Comic-Con, we ran into a guy that was like, yeah, I got your horror books last time I was here. Do you have anything new? And I'm like, well, I'm working on this thing new, but it's not ready yet and everything like that. Well, let me know. I look forward to seeing it. Those are the moments that make me keep doing it, right? That you see the guys that really enjoy what you're doing, and it makes you feel good that you're sharing that, and I don't want to say you've touched somebody because it makes you sound like a pedophile, but but you know what I mean, that you've connected with another human being, that you've told a story that has resonated with them. That's a much better word, resonated.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
You really touched my soul there.
Bite me. So, those moments are sadly few and far between. But those are the ones that just really make me want to keep doing this. And then again, that's one reason why we're doing this podcast, because we're trying to find more and more of an audience. The people who read my stuff tend to really like my stuff. The problem is most people don't know my stuff exists. I got family members and coworkers that don't know I've written a book. Because Chad, you're an attention whore. I was like, I have to be, because nobody knows what I do, no matter how many times I scream it from the mountaintop. Because nobody ever listens to me. I swear to God.
I know. Anyways, with those 2 wonderful experiences out of the way, I think since it has been about 45 minutes, we have gone past our way a lot of time.
Oh, yeah. What? We're going to interrupt the next program coming? Come on.
Yeah. So with that, before I end this, I would like to say there are multiple ways you can find us. One is at spectralinkshop.com.
You want to try that one again?
You say the link. I don't know the link off memory.
Okay, so there's multiple ways you can support us. The first is buy one of our books. Okay, so they're available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, pretty much anywhere that you sell books. They are also available on Audible, iTunes. The first book I did is now on Spotify. Do a search for Chad Robert Morgan. We have 2 different franchises, technically 2.5. So we have our horror franchise, which is The Last Rite. The books in that series is The Last Rite, followed by the multi-award-winning book, The Baby Eater. Then we have sort of our spin-off franchise for the young adults, which is The Short Bites. On the other hand, we have Intergalactic Space Force, like the Space Force, but more bigly, followed by Intergalactic Space Force, The Cherub Threat. Search for any of those titles on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. You should find it. You can also go to our store at shopspectralink.com, where you can find links to our books. You can buy the books from us directly. And you can also buy a lot of our merch, such as these awesome shirts. And the last thing that you can do is, and it costs you absolutely nothing, is tell people about us. So all this is on the Mel Brooks principle.
I've never heard what that is before. Why don't you inform me?
That wasn't rehearsed.
It was. Anyways, no, go. I believe in you.
Mel Brooks, creator of The Producers, among other things. One of the lyrics of the overture of The Producers goes something along the lines of, if you like what you see, tell all your friends about it. If you didn't, keep your big mouth shut. So, if you like what you see, like what you hear, tell all your friends about it. If you didn't, this is Pod Save America. So,
yep. If you didn't like our books, what's wrong with you? And I think with that, I think it's about time we end this.
I think we can wrap this up. You've got a lot of editing to do.
Oh no, I can't.